Radha Ramana Hari Govind Jai Jai.
Guru, why is Vyasa Puja so important? Why is the appearance of the Guru so important? Gurudev has said that Guru Nishta means faith in Guru is the backbone of Bhakti. So one fault or deviation is to have doubt in Gurudev. And I want to talk about that. Why is Guru Nishta the backbone of Bhakti? Because we're conditioned souls, our body is material, our conception is material. I think I'm this body, I'm identifying with my material mind. My senses are material. How can I see Krishna? How can I connect with Krishna? It's not possible. Atashi Krishna namadi na bhavet grahya indriya. Krishna is transcendental, and he's not going to appear in our material mind. He's not going to appear in front of our material senses. Like that, so what to do? Seva mukha jivado sameva svaratyadaha. But he will appear when he's pleased by our service attitude. And that service attitude comes from Guru. Gurudev gives this service mood. He's the transparent via medium between ourselves and Krishna. So, Gurudev and our relationship with Gurudev is extremely important in Bhakti. It's not just extremely important, it's essential. It's like, what? Yeah, it's like trying to run a computer or an electric fan without any electricity. It just doesn't work. You got the fan, it's great, but it doesn't work. There's no connection, there's no Shakti. So without Gurudev, our Bhakti has no Shakti. So, if we doubt Gurudev's position, then that means we're short-circuiting the whole process. That's the difficulty. What is Gurudev's position? First of all, he's a transcendental personality. Of course, there's all kinds of levels of Guru. So even Gurudev has explained, a Majjhim Adhikari, Majjhim, who already he's chanting, even chanting Namabhas consistently, but especially someone who's got some realization of Sarup, he's chanting Shuddhanam, at least sometimes. So he can help so much, because he's advancing, and the devotees will advance with him. So he can help to some extent. But our Gurudev is not this Majjhim Adhikari, although he presents himself as a sadhak. But actually we understand that he's not a sadhak. And he said that if you don't accept Gurudev as an eternal associate, then you can't make spiritual advancement. So we have to be clear about that. One time, Gurudev was talking with the devotees. I mean, sometimes he's very, very humble. I mean, he makes very humble, he's always humble, but sometimes he makes very humble statements. So he said, I don't know, he said, I sometimes think I'm just Kanishta, or maybe Kanishta Majjhim. Majjhim Kanishta means lowest level of Majjhim. So one of the devotees said, but Gurudev, you said that Kanishta Adhikari can't distinguish between different levels of devotees. So if you say that you're Kanishta, you couldn't even distinguish. Like contradicting his claim to be just Kanishta. But we understand this is Uttam Bhakta, and his position is completely transcendental. Even a devotee who has developed bhav by sadhana, the body is no longer material. So what to speak of someone who's come from the spiritual world on a mission, not engaged, not because of karma. His body is not material. Everything is arranged by Yogamaya, just like Krishna. Janma karma chime divyam. So the spiritual master also, everything he's doing, Uttam Bhakta, everything is by Yogamaya. It's transcendental. The whole thing is transcendental. He's a representative of Supersoul, a manifestation of Supersoul. Srila Krishna's Kaviraj Goswami says that the conditioned soul can't see Supersoul, so therefore Supersoul appears outside, in front of him, as spiritual master. So Supersoul knows everything. Super Soul's managing everything in the material world. He's in every atom. He's managing everything. Gurudev, what? He's Nityananda Prakash, Baladev Prakash. So Nityananda Prabhu, he's Baladev. Baladev is maintaining the whole spiritual world, and then he expands as the Purusha avatars, Mahavishnu, and the Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Mahavishnu manifests the whole material universe. All the elements, and then the universes emanate from his body. Then Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, Mahavishnu enters into every single universe, and Garbhodakshaya Vishnu is there in every universe, lying on Anantashesh. And then he expands into every atom, into the heart of every living entity as Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, or Super Soul. So Gurudev is Nityananda Prakash, Baladev Prakash, and Baladev is manifesting himself in this way, maintaining both the spiritual world and the material world. So he's not an ordinary person. And it's bewildering. Because it's on such a, what can you say, such a high level of transcendence. What to say? He's fully empowered, and yet he appears like an ordinary person. Not quite ordinary, but... One time Shramarani Didi, she asked Gurudev, does the spiritual master know as much about Krishna? And she thought that Gurudev had said, well, almost. But he didn't. He said, no, he knows more than Krishna. Because Krishna's engaged in pastime. He doesn't know what's going on. It's spiritual master's business. He knows. Of course, Krishna has two aspects. He's mugdha. On the one hand, he's bewildered. In his pastimes, he's so bewildered, he doesn't know what's happening. But simultaneously, sarvagya. Both. That seems contradictory. It is contradictory, materially. But materially contradictory qualities, they can be and they are present in the Supreme Lord at one and the same time. So, Guru, he's not subject to any kind of material illusion. You can't bribe him. You can't give him, hey, listen, I'll slip you $5,000 if you'll give me Sutta Swarup. What's he needed for? He's fully realized nothing in this material world has any attraction. No material things. Money, property, friendship of material personalities. He doesn't need it. Completely he doesn't need it. What do we have to offer? Materially speaking, what do we have to offer? Nothing. So Gurudev he can't be materially affected. But then doubts come. Okay, you say his body is not material, but he gets sick. How come he can get sick? Or, you say he knows everything, but he forgets. He forgets what's happening. Sometimes he forgets shlokas. When he's giving class, the devotees are prompting him on the shlokas. He forgets the devotees. He doesn't know their names. Seems like. And sometimes someone will tell Gurudev something which isn't necessarily true, and Gurudev will accept it. It appears that he accepts that. And then he's giving somebody else a hard time, but actually the information he was given was false. So what's all that about? So some devotees, they become doubtful, and then they conclude that actually Gurudev is not a transcendental personality. He's being controlled, for example. Sometimes devotees have said that he's being controlled by the people around him. And Gurudev becomes very upset when devotees think like this. Upset in the sense that if they think like this, if we think like this, we cannot make advancement. It's not possible. So, we have to understand, first of all, we should understand from the point of view of Scripture, what is Guru's position? He's not some ordinary bloke who's taken up a position to help other people. He's not like anybody else we've ever met. We should try to understand this and realize it. There's so many examples. One time Srila Gurudev, he was in, I don't know, maybe Hawaii or somewhere like that. And there was one devotee in Vrindavan, sitting in his room. And he turned around and there's Gurudev sitting in the chair. And Gurudev says, this is so that you'll know that I'm always with you. And after a bit he wasn't there anymore. And I know two acharyas. I know Srila Param Pujapad Vaman Maharaj and also Param Pujapad Bhakti Tirtha Goswami Maharaj. I've heard how they were present in two different places at the same time. Srila Vaman Maharaj, there was on one occasion one of his disciples had invited him for prasad. So he came and he took prasad and left. So next festival day with that devotee, he went living some way from Navadvip. So next festival, that devotee went to Navadvip, and he went to Srila Vama Maharaj's servant and thanked him for making the arrangement for Srila Vama Maharaj to come. He said, "What are you talking about? He couldn't come. We were on the train." But they looked in his diary, and in his diary he described the prasad that he'd actually received from the devotee. And then just recently I heard about Srila Bhakti Tirtha Goswami Maharaj. What happened? His disciples were supposed to be going to an engagement. There was, like they'd been invited to a preaching engagement. And they went by train and the train was delayed. So finally they arrived, like after the whole thing had finished. And they were very apologetic and the devotee said, "Oh, it was so wonderful, Gurudev was here and he gave such very wonderful Harikatha." And then Gurudev was, he was way miles away. So, the pure devotee doesn't perform miracles in order to impress his disciples, but still there are miracles. And we should be aware, first of all, from a scriptural point of view, we should understand the position of Gurudev. And then if we think, well, yeah, that's a pure devotee, but unfortunately I didn't have the luck, I didn't have the fortune to meet such a devotee. This is very, very unfortunate to think in this way. Pure devotee, we can understand, even we can understand that by his Shakti, by the fact that he's able to spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. He's able to inspire dry logs with real life. And that's what's happening. My Guru Maharaj, our Srila Prabhupada, he was empowered, everyone agrees, he was empowered, he went all over the world and he spread Krishna consciousness all over the world. And after he left, passed away, so many of his disciples became very, very dispirited, almost all. So who could maintain them? Who's enlivening his disciples? Only Srila Gurudev has inspired so many of Prabhupada's disciples. I'm not saying that nobody got any help from anybody else. Srila Bhakti Rakshak Srila Goswami Maharaj, he gave so much help. Srila Bhakti Pramod Puri Goswami Maharaj also, he gave so much help. But nobody has gathered such a solid body of Srila Prabhupada's disciples and hauled us out of wretched positions, engaged us in service and set up a movement like that. I mean, that's just one example. And he's enlivening he's bringing so many other disciples from so many different walks of life. And he has very, very advanced devotees. Really advanced devotees. At one time Srila Gurudev was talking about Premananda Prabhu. Premananda, I mean, he's been with Gurudev, I don't know how long. Very, very senior disciple. And he just sits and he's cutting up vegetables. One time he told me, he said, there's two classes. There's donkey class and acharya class. He said, I'm donkey class. I just sit here and I'm just cutting vegetables. And then I see the acharyas coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. So he's just sitting there, I mean, he just looks like some ordinary devotee. If you don't know. The Gurudev said, oh, he's just there working all day, working. And he said, actually, he's never working. Only worship. So several or many of Srila Gurudev's disciples, very, very advanced. Very. So, how can we reconcile these things? There's no formula that I know. One thing is that Srila Gurudev, he has the mood that he's sadhak. He has the mood that he's an ordinary devotee. Because otherwise, what would be the point of his being here? I mean, this is humility. That although he's self-realized personality, actually self-realized, the more one has prem, the more humble one becomes. So although he's on such an extraordinary level of self-realization and engagement in Radha and Krishna's service, but at the same time he's very, very humble and he thinks he's just an ordinary person. Even Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he thought that he was just an ordinary jiva. Rishabdev, he's an incarnation of the Supreme Lord. His body is completely transcendental, but under the influence of Yoga Maya, he thought that his body was material, and then he engaged in sadhana to give up to give up his bodily conception of life. It's a transcendental approach. So Srila Gurudev, he's in that company. That they think that he's an ordinary sadhak, and also he's very affectionate to the devotees. So sometimes he'll listen to one devotee, like if two devotees are having an argument. So Gurudev can easily say to each of them, that other person is such a rascal, so nonsense. I have personal experience with that. He never said that anybody else was a rascal, but it's okay, no problem at all. And I'm quite sure that to the other person he would say, oh, he's so nonsense, such a rascal. Yeah. You're well rid of him. So, what to do? Actually, Gurudev is a transcendental personality, and we can't understand transcendental personalities with our brain. So sometimes we'll be able to reconcile, and sometimes we won't. So what to do in that case? I have personal experience that, like on one occasion, being serious mental conflict because there were two completely, in my relationship with Gurudev, there were two completely opposed things going on, and I could not reconcile them. And my mind was so agitated about it. And in the end, I was just sitting and thinking about it and being mind-boggled. And in the end, I just said to Gurudev, in my mind, in my heart, that anyway, I just accept you. That's all. I can't understand this at all, I just accept you. And right after that, Gurudev showed that he knew exactly what was going on. And he personally came. He personally came to meet me. Although, physically, he couldn't even see where I was. So, if we're in doubt, at least from the point of Shastra and the point of view of hearing from experienced devotees, have faith in Gurudev's position and maintain it no matter what. And even if we can't understand, as much as possible we should try to understand what's going on. But when it doesn't work, on this point, we have to think, okay, my brain doesn't extend this far, but anyway I accept Gurudev. Anyway I accept. Sometimes people are very, they're very afraid of blind faith. It's not blind faith because it's informed by Shastra and it's informed by Hari Guru and Vaishnava. Guru Shastra Sadhu. It's not blind faith. So, Gurudev is not an ordinary personality, he's not a material personality, he's a transcendental personality. And our bhakti actually depends on our maintaining our faith, means our tendency to serve Gurudev as a transcendental personality. Hare Krishna.